everybody, I'm Jill Redfern and welcome to Third Shift Movement Shop, home of literal technique. I've talked an awful lot about the 33 vertebrae. Not only does literal technique think of it as one structure, but in order to understand how to move one structure, I think that you have to understand the components of that structure. So I've talked a lot about which vertebrae extend, which rotate, which flex, in order to be able to grasp when I move the central support of my body, what does it do? What can it do for me when I dance? A lot of our technique breaks the alignment of the 33 vertebrae into parts so that we learn how to align the rib cage barrel as if it's a thing unto itself, and we learn to align the pelvic barrel as if it's a thing unto itself. But what I think is that if we break those alignments if we separate them from each other and we break them up, there isn't going to be a way to unify movement. Wasn't able to find it. So once I started thinking about the 33 vertebrae as one structure, I started to realize that there are 3 places where alignment of that structure breaks. And it's those places that I think have made us focus on the rib cage and the pelvis as if they're separate, because the alignment breaks at a certain place in the thoracic vertebrae. The alignment breaks at a certain place at the sacrum. That means that it must be separate from everything else. The reality is that the 33 vertebrae are one structure. They're the central support of the body. They don't have a vertebrae or an alignment in sections. When one of the vertebrae is doing something, it impacts all the other vertebrae. So literal technique says, if you want to unify your movement, if you want to understand how to essentially dance the spine, you have to understand how to align it as one structure. My solution to that problem is to first identify the 3 places where alignment tends to break. And then the second thing is to say, if I can simultaneously find alignment in those 3 places, I can start to unify the vertebrae physically. I can start to feel it physically that way. Not think of it that way, but feel it that way. And once I can feel it that way as the central support, as the place that all other alignment is derived, directly or indirectly, then I can start to think of my movement differently, that I can unify it. And that's how I came up with the concept of the fusion body. It's one of the ways, anyway, that in a fusion body, nothing is disconnected. Everything is connected. I don't talk about all the bones and the muscles in the body. Literal technique talks about the bones and muscles I think are foundational to dance technique. But one thing that I think we really have to do is unify the 33 vertebrae physically. So this week in your class, think about the 3 places where alignment breaks and what you have to do to simultaneously align those places. The vertebrae are out in those places. What do you have to do to bring them back to neutral before you start to move? And as you move, you're going to move in and out of neutral, but you're always going to come back to neutral. When you're coming back to neutral to do the next movement, how do you find the neutral in those 3 places? What do you have to do? What movements, can you tell what movements you're doing when it's getting out of whack? It's that kind of thinking at a fundamental level about the 33 vertebrae that is going to change the way you dance. Give that a try this week, and I'll see you next week.